So tonight we are going to learn how to navigate Edpuzzle, create our video lessons, assign them through Canvas. A little bird told me that you guys were Canvas-y, which is what I'm from North Carolina. So that's what we are here too. And then access data and implement Edpuzzle in your classroom. My name is Sarah. I'm an ed tech trainer with the Edpuzzle team. I'm part of our community team, and we do a lot of webinars across the United States to support teachers in their implementation of Edpuzzle. So like I said, please feel free to ask questions as you have them. Antonio or Stephanie, would you drop the bit.ly in the chat window? I'll have it on some of the slides as we go forward, but just so that you know. This is just a little intro of what Edpuzzle is about. So I'm going to play this quick little snippet for you just in case you aren't familiar with us.
Days are learning how to do almost everything through video. Videos feel personal, are highly visual, and let you control the pace at which you learn. But when you try to show a video in class, you might not always get the best results. Sometimes it's hard to know if students are paying attention or if they're actually learning anything. But with Edpuzzle, turning a video into a dynamic lesson is easy. You can add questions anywhere in your video, so you can check comprehension and get students to engage in critical thinking. You may not always have time to find a video and add your own questions, but don't worry, the entire Edpuzzle community has got you covered. Scroll through our library of teacher-created content and get inspired by what other educators like you are doing in their own classrooms. Or choose from our standards-aligned Edpuzzle Originals, instructional videos with built-in practice created with you and your students in mind. With the time you save, you can focus on other important things. Sometimes the video content you're looking for doesn't exist yet, so why not try making it yourself? Edpuzzle's screen recording tool lets you create the video that fits your students' needs. When you're done, you can edit the video and embed questions all in one go. Your students will appreciate seeing a familiar, friendly face as they learn. Once you're ready to assign your lesson, that's when the magic happens. You can hold students accountable for watching the entire video and monitor as they watch it at their own pace. Then use Edpuzzle's real-time analytics to figure out who's ready to move on to the next lesson and who needs a little more help. That way, you can decide how to best use your time in the classroom. So, the next time you want to assign a video, let Edpuzzle be your guide. You'll be joining a network of educators who are changing the face of 21st century teaching, one video lesson at a time.
So I always like playing that little video to give you guys a taste, of what our animation kind of looks like, so you can get a taste of what it'll look like when you use an Edpuzzle original, and also just to kind of give a couple more people time to filter in at the beginning of the session if anyone's running late. So we're going to learn how to set up our Edpuzzle accounts, create and edit video lessons, assign and grade directly from Canvas, and we're going to learn what the data looks like. I call it stoplight data, so that'll be kind of your little keyword for that. And then how to use Edpuzzle to enhance your lesson. So I'll give you some ideas to use Edpuzzle in your classroom. So if you will pop in the chat window how you use video lessons in your classroom, I'm going to kind of look at that. And then I'll also tell you a little bit about how I used video lessons in my classroom. You can see in the bottom right corner there, the bit.ly. So if you need to reference that, that'll make a copy of the presentation for today. So my background is as a tech coach. I most recently left the classroom, actually just last year, to work with Edpuzzle. I was a tech coach for grades 6 through 12 here in Moore County. I've also worked with K-5 schools too. And then I taught in the classroom 9th grade world history in Raleigh, North Carolina. So when I was using video lessons, a lot of time it was to take place of that direct instruction. There was no, when I was a classroom teacher, which was 6 years ago, there was no cool tool like Edpuzzle. Actually, what existed was something called Zaption, which I don't think even exists anymore. But that was the only formative assessment tool that used video. So I was really excited as a tech coach to see all that Edpuzzle could do in the classroom. I've got some awesome things in the chat. We've got explicit instruction, introducing lessons, whole group independent practice. I use videos to teach music, stories. These are all great ways to use video. So think about the ways that you're already using video and how you can incorporate Edpuzzle as we go through how to use Edpuzzle today. Oh, yep. And with Google Classroom, pairs well with Google Classroom and with Canvas too. So take any video, embed your own assessment questions, and track your students' progress. Thanks, Antonio, for sharing out the full link since our Bitly wasn't working. All right, this is what Edpuzzle is in a nutshell, right? Our little catchphrase is make any video your lesson. You can embed your own assessment questions. My favorite feature is that you can even embed notes that will link to outside resources. It's a great way to app smash with Edpuzzle if you're into that kind of thing. There's lots of ways that you can use Edpuzzle as your base and make it your own. So it's really powerful. It increases student engagement. It makes videos an active learning experience. If you're a teacher that's already using a worksheet with your video, it's super easy to copy and paste the questions from that worksheet into an Edpuzzle. You can increase student autonomy, so they're doing it at their own pace, but you're also holding students accountable. Speaking of doing it at their own pace, we even have a feature now where you can do it at the class's pace. So if you traditionally do a read aloud in your classroom, you can still do that as a whole class instruction using our Edpuzzle live mode. You can save class time for higher level learning, and you can connect with Canvas to post your assignments and sync your grades. So I will show you the steps for connecting with Canvas as well today. So your specific link is listed here. I'm not going to change my school, but it should take you to the login page. And let me make sure that I will just copy that and throw that in the chat just in case. So this will link you to Prince George's County. So if you want to link to the district, the real benefit of that is that at that point, if you link to your school district, is that other teachers in your district will show up as teachers under your network. So if you're working in a PLT or PLC, whichever one you call it already, it's really great to go on and link to your school, because that way you can see the Edpuzzles that other teachers, in your network are creating. And that way you can kind of divide and conquer when you're creating these new video lessons. You're going to then sign in with your school issued email, add your school grade and your content area. And the last step for today is extremely important. If you want to create an Edpuzzle while we're here together, you will need to open your email and verify your account. So when you go in, if you've maybe gone to this link before, but you haven't verified the account, you'll see a blue bar across the top of the screen. And that blue bar means that you just need to go to your email and verify your account real quick. And Antonio is here with us. He does an amazing job at helping anybody if they're having an issue getting in. Oh, and James figured it out. I typoed because I typed it in the chat box. I'm sorry, y'all. So we'll take just a minute for everyone to go to edpuzzle.com, get logged in. You can go on and start familiarizing yourself. You'll see we now have a tab here for Edpuzzle Originals. So those were mentioned in that little intro video. That's the original content that we have created. They are standards aligned lessons. And we are also working on getting you guys tables that show you each of the Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, all of the state standards that they are all aligned to as well. So those are in the works. And those are a great resource for y'all to start using in your classroom. I'll talk about them a little bit more as we talk about making our first video lesson. If anybody is having an issue signing in, please let us know in the chat window and we're happy to help you get that figured out. So let's talk about making your first video lesson. First, you have to select your content. The beauty of Edpuzzle is that you can use any video to create a lesson. You can create your own screen recording using our built-in screen recorder. So you don't even have to remember where you saved it in your Google Drive, whether it's saved to your desktop or to your documents or to my computer. We have the Edpuzzle Originals that I just mentioned. You can look at videos that have been uploaded by other educators. You can use your district or your school channel, which is my network, or you can use YouTube videos. Beauty of the Edpuzzle extension, by the way, not only does it allow you to voice record, screen record, video record from anywhere online, but it also adds this nice little button to YouTube so that while you are browsing YouTube, you can click Edit with Edpuzzle and it'll open it directly into the Edit with Edpuzzle window. So lots of options for how to select your content. And like I mentioned, we have a new screen recording Chrome extension. You can record the tab, the desktop, or the webcam, just like any other screen recorder. You can trim a video from beginning, end, or middle. If you misspeak, you can use Voiceover to replace the audio. You can add notes and questions and then assign your video lesson. So the beauty of the screen recorder, and what I always recommend to teachers trying it for the first time, is that if you've never used the screen recorder before, but you know that your end goal for your screen recording is to create an Edpuzzle, give it a shot. There is no limit to our knowledge for the length of the video. Of course, we always recommend that a video is no more than 10 minutes. So take that no limit with a grain of salt. So don't go crazy with the no limit. But I always recommend, if you're going to use the screen recorder, if you know that your end goal is to make an Edpuzzle, then try out the screen recording if that's what you want to do. Like I mentioned, we now also have Edpuzzle Originals. These are high quality video lessons created by our curriculum team. They are expert teachers. All of these lessons are standards aligned. They are rigorous. There's 1,000+ of these videos and they are ready to use. Ready to use meaning the questions are already embedded in these Edpuzzle Originals and ready for you to hit the ground running and use them in your classroom. Now, that being said, I do always recommend that you preview the questions first because they might not be the questions that you want to ask. But the beauty of the Edpuzzle Original is that I would feel comfortable using these in my classroom without even previewing the questions, as long as it's the original from Edpuzzle and not a copy that another teacher has made. So these are amazing. I love the science is like inquiry based. It gives you a question at the beginning of the lesson for students to answer and figure out as they look at the information. All of the history gives these awesome anecdotes for students. The one that's about the American Revolution compares the colonies and England to a baseball team, and one team being the home team and one team being the away team, and how the Americans kind of had the home field advantage. So I kind of love that it puts it into these relatable stories for students to understand. And that's what we all try to do as teachers, right? Is put it into a relatable narrative so that our students can understand what's going on. So to find a video, you can just use that white search bar at the top of the screen. And Natalie asked, if I use someone's video and they delete it in their content folder, will you lose your video? That, Natalie, is the beauty of Edpuzzle. Once you have clicked copy or edit, it makes a copy to your account. So you won't lose access to the video because it has copied it over to your account as is. So not only will you not lose access, I also love it because I am that notorious person who would get really excited about something and edit somebody else's Google Doc or slides or Google product without making a copy. So I always loved that with Edpuzzle, once I clicked edit or copy, it's automatically going to make me my own, and I don't have to worry about messing with something that somebody else created. So if you look under my content, you'll see your saved or edited videos. If you want to upload a video from your computer or create a screen recording, you're going to click on the blue Add Content button. And I'll show you all of these live on the site in just a second. And then this white search bar at the top, you're going to search for any topic or YouTube video where that blue writing is. And then you can refine your search from there. So one of my favorite features is, like, let's say that I teach 8th grade and 4 of the kids in my class can no longer access YouTube because they've been looking at videos that they shouldn't look at. I'm sure that's never happened to any of you, but it definitely happened a lot at the school that I was a tech coach for. So what you can do is click on source from the drop-down menu there, and you can actually search so that it's only showing Edpuzzle hosted videos, meaning that those videos are not routed through YouTube. So whether it's an issue of like, nobody's supposed to be using YouTube on your campus, or these 15 kids can no longer use YouTube, and you just want to make sure that everyone can watch the video, then you can select that from the source drop-down menu as well. Once again, the Edpuzzle Originals tab on the left there. And once you have the video, you can click copy to save the copy to your content, or click edit to save the copy to your content and begin editing. So before I go into these features, I'm going to show you how we did the search really quick on the site. Oh, there she goes. Okay, so the Edpuzzle Originals tab is here. So these are the Edpuzzle created lessons. That being said, you can search for anything. I used to love using John Green Crash Course in World History. Shout out to my social studies teachers out there. So these were my favorite ones to use to kind of review a whole unit of study that we just did. And so all of these are already on here. As you can see, it's showing me ones that are created by people in my network first. So Connor works with me. I can also click on my network and see any examples created by Edpuzzle, Connor, etc. So you'll see probably teachers' names from your district or from your school if you do that. And then once I want to make a copy, so this is actually Connor's video with 14 questions. When I click edit, it's going to automatically create my own version. And once again, when I click copy, it's still going to create my own version. It's just going to copy it as is. So if I want to go into edit, I can click edit. And if I click copy, it's just going to copy the version as is to my content. Now, the one thing that I mentioned was that source feature. So once I've searched Crash Course World History, I can select Edpuzzle hosted here. Now, this is a pretty specific search, so no guarantees that there's going to be something Edpuzzle hosted, but we'll see. Oh, there we go. So these are all Edpuzzle hosted, meaning that this is created and uploaded to Edpuzzle. So this way I can kind of get around that YouTube filter that I might have going on. The Edpuzzle Originals are a great example of something that's Edpuzzle hosted that you don't ever have to worry about it routing through YouTube with. So just an FYI. And like I said, all of these are ready to go. This one has 7 questions. And the one that I mentioned was, it's going to actually be under the Revolutionary America unit. And the American Revolution, this is the one that's about the causes of the American Revolution, and it talks about them being 2 different baseball teams. So I love using this video to illuminate that for my students. So once I'm in, I can do a few different things. I can add voiceover, which we'll go over in a second. For that, it only works with Edpuzzle hosted videos. So if you're just pulling a video from YouTube, your voiceover is not going to work for that. You click start recording, record your voiceover, and you can listen to it back by clicking on the play button. Now, the voiceover is a narration tool. So we also have an audio note, which is how you can kind of almost use voiceover. It doesn't narrate it like a voiceover does, but you can still put your own voice in explaining what's coming up in the video using an audio note feature, which I'll go over in a second. But the voiceover is a true narration over the video. You can add it to your screen recordings, and you can also add it to any other Edpuzzle hosted video. And the other thing that we can do is we can embed questions. So we can cut the length. I'll show you that in a second. We can do the voiceover, and we can add our questions. So there are three different types of questions, excuse me. There's the questions, multiple choice, an open-ended question, and then you can add a note. The beauty of these open-ended questions is that one of our new features is that we now allow students to submit an audio response. So when you turn on that audio response toggle, which I'll show you in just a second, we'll create one together. When you turn on that audio response toggle, it's going to allow students to record their voices to answer. Now, as far as grading these, the nice thing about Canvas is that if it sends you through Canvas, right? If you do it through Canvas, it will automatically link to your student information system. So that means that if you're using PowerSchool, which is what we used here, then Canvas, Edpuzzle sent the grade to Canvas, Canvas sent the grade to PowerSchool. That's only if you use all multiple choice questions. It will still send it if you use open-ended, but you do have to go grade the open-ended question. Just like to give people that at the beginning. So just an FYI, there is no way for the computer to grade that paragraph for you or that sentence. So you will have to go back and grade those open-ended questions. But with those, you can do the audio response and you'll go to the same place to answer those. The other thing that you can do, so we've got multiple choice, open-ended, and adding notes, is that you can add notes and you can record an audio note as well. So think about using notes. You can do external links. So I could like link the slides that we're going to use in the lesson later today. I could link the graphic organizer that I want students to fill out. I can put in the periodic table if it's a chemistry lesson. I could put in an image to help them get an idea for something. I could put in a painting. I could put in a little piece of piece of musical bars, like a little piece of bar paper that I've written some music on for them to play. So you can add a note anywhere in your video, and then you just click save. It's great to add next steps too. So at the very end of your video, because students have to watch until the very last second to then turn in the Edpuzzle. At the very end, you could put a note with the next steps for what they need to do. I've even used the note feature to make a breakout, and the clues for the breakout are notes in the Edpuzzle. So there's all kinds of ways that you can use that note feature to your advantage. So let me show you how to put in those 3 question types and how to cut and how to record, how to cut and how to put in the notes. So when you go in, I will edit this Edpuzzle Original here. It's going to show me all of the questions that already exist. So these are the questions that this video came with. If I want to cut, now the beauty of Edpuzzle that not a lot of other resources offer is that you can cut from the beginning.
Which is experienced and smart.
You can cut from the end by dragging in the bars here. And I can also go forward in my video and I can add a cut in the middle. So not only can I cut the length from the beginning and from the end, but I can also cut from the middle of the video. And once I'm done, one thing that I like for you guys to note is that in the bottom right corner, it shows you the total new time. So it says the amount of time that this video is. So if you're like, I never want my warm-up videos to be more than 5 minutes, you can make sure that you have cut it down to a 5-minute video. And it'll update that as you cut. So as I cut, it's going to change my time in the bottom right corner. Just an FYI, it's always helpful to know. Now for the voiceover. This is not going to work right now because my microphone is being used for Zoom, but normally the start recording video, button would be red, and I could click on start recording and then start recording my voice over this video. And then it'll have a play button and I can play back the voiceover once I'm done recording my voiceover. Now our third option, which now has 3 choices. So cut is your length. And remember, you can cut from both sides as well as in the middle. Your voiceover is going to narrate over the video. And that only works, remember, with Edpuzzle hosted videos, just an FYI. Questions, I can add multiple choice, open-ended, or a note. I can also edit, each of these teardrops is a question. I can also edit a pre-existing question. So if I want this question that's multiple choice to actually be open-ended, I can just click on the pencil and edit that question. Now, another thing that I can do that I like to mention, especially as we get to upper grade levels, is you can actually stack questions and activities. So if I maybe wanted them to answer this open-ended question, but I also wanted to add a note and tell them what to do next in class, please paste the graphic organizer into your interactive notebook, if anybody does those. Remember, I came last from 6th through 8th grade, so lots of interactive notebooks happening. And then you just click save. And now I've got a little circle within that teardrop to denote that there's 2 items for students to do in that section. So I've got my open-ended question, and I've also got the note that I just added there at the very end. So students would answer the open-ended question and then they would see that note. So cool way to kind of stack items as well. You can change, and then if I just want to add in a question, I click on multiple choice question and I can add in my question. One of the things that I love, anytime that you can type in your Edpuzzle video, you've got these text editing options. So you can bold your text, italicize, and underline. I would like to say that I am impressed by myself for correctly spelling the word italicize in front of a public group. And I can even underline there. You can do superscript, you can do subscript. I love, love, love the fact that I can hyperlink, mainly because when I'm doing a note, if I want to, let's say, link out to today's slides, I can go on and pull my link from here, and then I can hyperlink my slides in my Edpuzzle. So if I'm using this, let's say, as an opening question, right? And I'm like, oh, there's no excuse for you not to be able to navigate to the next activity, because if you watch the whole Edpuzzle, it's the last note in the Edpuzzle. So it's like, it streamlines your class so much if you can also link it in the Edpuzzle, and you'll be good to go. Now, my other favorite feature, shout out to my elementary and middle school teacher friends. Well, I guess all math uses fractions, honestly, but I love being able to do a proper fraction. If you're a math teacher, you feel me. So here I've got 3/4. So if I use that function tool there, so remember, this is anytime you can put text or numbers into the Edpuzzle, you can use all of these function tools. So even just in my note feature, I can use it in my open-ended question, and I can use it in my multiple choice. Anytime I am typing into the question box of my Edpuzzle, I can use that. So I've got all of those math functions there for me to use, and they're super easy. Like, you don't have to remember that it's fraction. I don't even know how to say what punctuation that is, to be completely transparent with you. I don't have to worry about that type of bracket, whatever it is, and remembering how to code that in. I just select it and I type in my numbers and I'm good to go. And once I save, it's going to add in my note right there in my video. And remember, you can stack and you can also edit. So if I don't like my note anymore, I can edit out whatever I need to edit out and click save, and I'm good to go. So that was kind of our question tools. I'm going to take a pause and let you guys maybe look up your own Edpuzzle really quick and see if there is a chance that you would like to work on making a video lesson. Okay, so let's see, it's 5 o'clock. So we're going to work on creating a video. So go to the search bar, search for maybe an upcoming topic in your class. Okay, so if you've got maybe like a mixed fractions unit coming up or something, go on and see what's out there for mixed fractions. Familiarize yourself with that source, Edpuzzle hosted YouTube, maybe look and see if something else exists in your network, and go on and start looking at maybe even use an Edpuzzle original if that kind of floated your boat and you're excited about that. Then go on and look at the Edpuzzle originals and see what's out there and start using some of those editing features. So I talked for a minute. So it's 5:01. So we're going to take until 5:06 to do that. And please feel free, if you have a question, to unmute and ask me a question. So let's talk about, speaking of Canvas, assigning your first video lesson. So you can obviously assign it directly through Edpuzzle. But when we're talking about assigning your video lesson in Canvas, you're going to go to your assignments tab. You can add an assignment to create the new assignment. Scroll down to your submission type and select external tool. So I always think of this part as the telling the students what to do. And underneath that, where you've got all those drop-down menus, is how they're going to turn it into you. So in this case, we're going to go to external tool. We're going to find and select Edpuzzle. And then you click on the eyeball to look at the video that you want to add. And then you click the blue assign button. And if you want to use that prevent skipping feature, which is obviously the crowd favorite, making students watch the whole video, make sure that that toggle is turned on for prevent skipping. Now you can also do this if you're running your Canvas course through modules. You can add an assignment to the module. Anywhere that you can add an assignment, you're just going to click plus assignment to create the assignment and then use that external tool menu. And I've got this lovely GIF here. Oh, perfect. So Kim says you're working on the grade syncing process from Canvas to School Max, which is your SIS. So that'll be great once that is opened up. But even with it being in Canvas, at least the grade is sent to Canvas, right? So if you're going to Canvas for all of your other grades, then you'll be good to go. So assigning, just find and select Edpuzzle. Remember, go to the external tool menu. That's the tricky part. You're gonna want to copy the URL from edpuzzle.com and share it in Canvas. But the way that it syncs is by using that external tool feature. So make sure that you're doing submission type external tool. Like even if you just write this on a note somewhere, submission type external tool. If you're using Edpuzzle within Canvas, that's going to help you out in the long run. And then you're just going to click continue to create the assignment. And once again, when your students watch the video, they're not going to leave Canvas. They're going to watch their Edpuzzle video right there within the Canvas menu. So that Canvas menu on the left side of their screen is still going to be there, and they're going to be within the Canvas menu, within the Canvas platform, watching their video. So super easy to utilize within there. Now, the other beauty of this is you don't have to leave Canvas to grade the student work. You can review their answers, you can grade their open-ended questions, you can leave that personalized feedback. All of this is automatically synced within Canvas. So Edpuzzle is talking directly to Canvas, and you don't have to worry about going anywhere else. Now, once again, the big thing is that you are still going to use edpuzzle.com to create your Edpuzzle. So the only time that you have to leave Canvas to use Edpuzzle is to create the actual video lesson itself. So just remember that when you're creating the video, you want to go to edpuzzle.com. But if you're syncing it with Canvas and your students are watching it through Canvas, you're going to want to use that assignment, submission type, external tool, and then select your Edpuzzle from there. So the actual creation is in edpuzzle.com. Beauty of these data features, and I can hop into these a little bit more because we have quite a bit of time together this evening. The beauty of these, this is what I call stoplight data. So it's going to be red, yellow, or green. And when you're at a stoplight and it's green, I'm not going to actually wait for you to answer, although it'd be funny if somebody actually unmuted and answered. You drive forward. Okay. So if all of your students are green, then you know that we understand that concept and we can go on to the next topic. If all of your students have a red score on that question, then that might be something that you need to review as a whole class tomorrow. If a third of your students have a red score on that question, they got it incorrect, then that might be something that you want to pull that third of students aside and do some small group instruction the next day to make sure that you're all on the same page. So it's a really easy way with those stoplight colors, that red, yellow, and green, to figure out what group assignments need to be made the next class period, to figure out where the misconception is. So if everyone answered this question incorrectly with this specific answer, I can maybe figure out why everyone answered incorrectly and what's going on. I really love, so my district was starting to use multi-tiered support strategies when I was a tech coach, and Edpuzzle was a great tool for us to pull those small groups for instruction the next day. So a teacher could use the Edpuzzle as the exit ticket that day, and they automatically had the students that needed to be at their semicircle desk with them in a small group. And they figured out the students that could maybe do a different Edpuzzle for enrichment or a different activity, or the students that needed a hands-on activity. So it was a great way to kind of decide those small groups and figure out where students needed to go and what intervention they needed to best support them. So some cool ways that you can use Edpuzzle in your class. We have a flipped classroom model, project-based learning, audiobooks, differentiated lessons, online stations, live mode, which You guys, we're going to have time to do a live mode together, which I am super excited about. So stand by. Welcome or exit ticket work and choice boards or hyperdocs. So we have blog posts on all of these ideas as well. We are also a wealth of resources. So you'll leave the session with my email address too, and you're welcome to email me and see the ways that I have used Edpuzzle to achieve these things in my classrooms and with my teachers. So lots of examples for ways that you can use it. My favorite is that Edpuzzle can stand as a resource library for you. So whenever you find something cool that another teacher did and they used Edpuzzle, it'll automatically make that copy for you and make it so that you can edit it and create your own lesson from there. As a tech coach, I especially loved using Edpuzzle as directions for using different technology. So this was great when we transitioned to Canvas, because I made Edpuzzles of how to use Canvas for my students. And I could check in with them like, okay, what click was made here to see tonight's homework? So it can be something as simple as that, like where am I clicking next to correctly use Canvas? Or like you could do a Canvas scavenger hunt using Edpuzzle as you make that transition. It can also be directions for parents. So we have a great open class feature where you can send home an Edpuzzle to guide parents through how to help students do something. So can also be shared with parents' guardians. A great way for you to approach the parents that say, well, this isn't the way that I learned how to do math. Well, you can help teach the parents how to do math by assigning that Edpuzzle through an open class as well. And then the parent or guardian can assist their student from home. Correctly worked example problems, an audiobook or a read aloud library. So I know my elementary teacher friends had lots of read alouds. There's a great, I actually just discovered it the other day. There is, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's called Storyline Online. Has anybody heard of that? Tell me in the chat if you have. Yes, Tiffany says yes. So a lot of those are on here too. And they are your favorite celebrities reading books to kids. It's by the Screen Actors Guild Foundation. And I did not know it existed till the other day, and I got really excited about it. So like here's one of Wanda Sykes reading The Case of the Missing Carrot Cake. So these are great little videos, and since they're available on YouTube, they're also available on Edpuzzle. So, and they actually include really cool animations with them too. So all of those that you would normally, let's say, pull up on your board in the front of the classroom on YouTube, you can also use these through Edpuzzle. So if I wanted to use this specific video, once again, I just click edit and it's already made me my own copy ready to go. So those are an awesome resource for you too. And once again, they're just available on YouTube. So they're automatically there. Like how easy is that? Anything that you can find on YouTube, change up your read aloud. So it's not, you sitting at the front of the classroom reading, even though that's amazing and wonderful. It's so nice for them to have a change. Remedial or extension activities. So you could think about making an open class and students joining that class if they needed some help or if they needed enrichment. Also a great example of a station or a center for your station or center's activities. So consider one of your centers being an Edpuzzle. So you could have, 4 or 5 Chromebooks, iPads, whatever you've got, whatever kind of device. At a station, students can be working on the Edpuzzle as one of their stations in your classroom, doing a hands-on activity at a second station, working at your semicircle table with you, 5-on-1, let's say, if you're lucky, right? LOL. 6 or 7-on-1 is probably more realistic at your little small station with you. Also podcasts. So you can upload a podcast to Edpuzzle and ask questions. So we're talking about, listening comprehension when we're talking about a podcast. There's lots of articles about podcasts that are appropriate for kids. And then we even have a blog post on choice boards. So these 4, the read aloud, station rotation, podcast, and choice boards, those we all have blog posts for, and I've linked the blog post for how to do that for you. So a majority of those blog posts are going to be an actual teacher that used Edpuzzle in this way in their classroom, walking you through how to use Edpuzzle in that capacity. I also put in here for y'all, we have a Padlet that we have created for ideas for implementing Edpuzzle in your class. So this will take you to a whole bunch of different resources. And all of these ideas that we've just discussed, station rotation, centers, choice boards. We also have SEL on here, projects in Edpuzzle, virtual field trips, escape rooms. I love escape rooms. I made that one. So that is a near and dear to my heart section there. And then even more inspiration. We have all of those there for you. Lots of ideas for you to use Edpuzzle for. And oops, I should have sent this to everyone. Paste. There we go. And there's the Padlet in the chat window for you. So I know that it's linked on the slides, but just in case you want it in that chat window, it is listed there as well. So these are just lots of ideas for fun and interesting ways that you can utilize Edpuzzle in your classroom. I also really love, and I'll go into this one a little bit more, the virtual field trip idea. My district was really blessed in that we wrote a lot of grants and we worked really hard to get VR headsets, which were great until Google Expeditions went away. So we had all of these VR headsets and we were like, okay, cool. What are we doing with them now? So the beauty of using the Edpuzzle for the virtual field trip though, is that you can still use those 360 right options that you had with a virtual field trip when you were using Google Expedition and those 360 videos. So it will still pan using the YouTube video, just like it would if you were using it on a headset. Now for live mode. This is one of my new joys. Are you ready to participate even more than you already are? So live mode is one of my favorite things. I love it because even though Edpuzzle is wonderful for independent practice, now you can even use it for whole group instruction. So even though you could always play, the Edpuzzle at the front of the room, this way, not only are you playing it at the front of the room, students are responding to the questions on their own devices. So at a conference in California a few weeks ago, I was joking that it's like Edpuzzle and Kahoot had a baby, and that's what live mode is. So it's just like Kahoot, like they're all answering it on their own devices. And they can still access their answers and the assignment afterwards. They can't change their answers, obviously, but they can still see the assignment afterwards, but you're presenting it on the front of the screen and you're deciding the pace. So if you have kids that are notorious for always just skipping through the end of the portion, first of all, you've got prevent skipping on your side. So keep that in mind, but also you can control the pace at the front of the room and make sure that we're all taking our time answering the questions and watching the video, because we are watching this as a class today. My other favorite example that a teacher gave me is that one of the most exciting days in a high school classroom is the day that they hand out yearbooks, which if any of y'all teach high school, you can relate to this moment. It is so exciting, but it is also just a tiny little seed of chaos that is planted throughout the school day. And so the beauty of the live mode is if you're like, wow, we are not going to be able to do anything independently today, you can still use that same Edpuzzle that you were planning on using for class, but you can use it in live mode and make sure that you're all answering the questions together. It's also beautiful for my primary friends and our littlest learners, because you can have students answering on their devices, and it gives you time to walk around with your TA and make sure that your kindergartners know where to click, know how to answer. It's just great for all grade levels. I love live mode. And now we're going to experience it because I have talked enough. This is what it looks like. Student view, they're getting the questions. Teacher view, you're seeing the responses. I'll show you because you'll be able to share this. You'll see my screen shared when we do it in a second. And just to let you know, this also works in Canvas. So ready to go live in Canvas. Once again, you're just going to go to your assignments tab. So this is after you've assigned the Edpuzzle. So you've already done your submission type, external tool, Edpuzzle, all that jazz. What you can do is scroll down and click go live. If you don't see go live, click on the 3 lines because your screen is just zoomed in too much. It's magnified too much. And then you can click start live mode and wait for your students' names to appear. And then you can click start. So really great option. You can still use that live mode even within your Canvas course. So I have a class dedicated to live modes. Okay, so what you'll have to do is you can join my class if you would like to participate. Well, let me invite you to the class. So if you want to join the class, I'm going to copy this and post it in our chat window really quick. And it should also be up there on the screen for you. So if you want to join the class, you can participate in the live mode. So this is a really great way too, if you want to do an open class. I've even seen teachers, y'all, do the live mode for like a meet the teacher night with the parents. What an idea. I love that. So you can even have them do a live mode that way. And for that, you just want to do an open class because obviously the parents, even though they might have the parent portal for Canvas, might not necessarily be connected. But you could do an open class and they can participate in the live mode. Okay. So once you've joined my class, so you'll have to join the class, which is in the chat there. Okay. But once you've joined, if you would like to join the live mode, you can go to the class and then you will click on the assignment. So there should be an assignment that's open called Weathering and Erosion Rock Arches. Oh, here we go. Okay. We got lots of people in. I'm going to go on and click start. Oh, I am inevitable. I like it. All right. So this one, I also I have a little activity embedded at the end. So this is one of our Edpuzzle Originals. So this is for, I want to say that Weathering and Erosion is 4th grade here. I'm in North Carolina, so give me some grace. If it's not there, I'm sorry. We're going to continue our Google drawing past that. Here we go.
Every time that moving water traveled around the rock, it would also push against it, like a small wave smashing against the rock face. This happened for thousands of years. Over thousands of years, what effect do you think that water would have on the rock?
Okay, so now y'all are going to answer the open-ended question. Over thousands of years, what effect do you think that water would have on the rock? And you can see in my live mode up here on the teacher version, I can see how many of you have answered as you're answering. I don't see the names of the people that have answered. There's no countdown on your side, so there's no time stress. Okay. That's great as well. If you feel like everyone got it wrong, then you can rewatch that portion of the video as a class. I'm going to go on and click continue. So I'm sorry if you haven't answered yet, but in the interest of time, to give you some work time. Now, the cool thing is I can show my responses here. So I can see the responses that everyone gave. And we can look at those as a class, and you'll notice it doesn't say anybody's names. You, of course, can see the answers that students gave later. You can look back at the answers that they put in, but it's not showing anybody's name. So it's like a zero fear participation, right? Nobody's going to get made fun of because of the answer that they put down. So this is a great example. And you can talk about maybe a misconception in here, like if somebody put no effect and you wanted to talk about, well, let's talk about that a little bit more. Maybe you can talk about some of the vocabulary that somebody used. Like, I love that you use the word erode in your answer. That's one of the words that we're going to be talking about today. So great opportunity for you to really give kids praise too.
Eventually, that rock wall began to break down. We call this process weathering. No, not like the weather in the sky. This is a very different kind of weather. Weathering is when rocks or other materials break down into smaller pieces. Over time, those broken off pieces of rock would break down into even smaller pieces called sediment. And that sediment couldn't just stay there forever. Where did all the sediment go?
And so this is one of the multiple choice questions. And this way you're kind of experiencing it as a student. So where did all the sediment go? This is a great thing to point out too. This only has 3 answer choices. You can do 2 answer choices for your multiple choice. You can do 3 if you're teaching an AP class And you know that AP tests typically have 5 answer choices. You can do 5 answer choices. It's also a great accommodation for students. So if you have a student that maybe has an accommodation where it's 50% of the available answer choices, you can make an open class and assign Edpuzzles with 50% of the answer choices to help meet that federally mandated accommodation. All right, I'm going to continue in the interest of time. Once again, I can see my answers. So 89% of us got the answer right. Good job. 11% and 7%. And we could maybe talk about why, even though this uses the word sediment, which is probably what caught your eyes, what the difference is in those answers there.
Thanks to the power of the...
Now I'm going to pause that because we've looked at both types of questions, and that's the most important thing to me. Okay. And then we've got another open-ended. But what I wanted to show you is, and I forgot to edit this after the last time that I did it, so I do apologize. But what you can do with that note feature, so I added in a note here, and this is a Google drawing. And I'll copy that and throw it in the chat window here. So what I have is at the end of my lesson, I have an option for my students to create their own Google drawing looking at one of these natural bridges. So just like they looked at the Rainbow Bridge in that video, which we would have seen if we'd watched a little bit further, you could link the next activity for them at the end of the Edpuzzle video. So just add in that little note feature, add in your URL. In this case, I added in the URL of my Google drawing, and I shared that in the chat window for you guys, the copyable link for that. And so I can give my students this example and have them make their own poster using Google Drawing of a rainbow bridge. So in this case, I would just take, when I'm editing my Edpuzzle, and I'll show you really quick with my content here. See, that's this one. So at the very end, when I edit my video, I just add in my Google drawing at the very end of the video. So here I would just type in, today you'll be creating a Google drawing using a natural bridge of your choice. Right, check out my example. To use as a template. And then I could just highlight this portion, click on my little chain link here, and paste my URL. Nice little hint, when you are pasting a URL, if you don't want your students to be able to edit your original, you can delete the word edit here. You might already know this, but occasionally there's people that don't know. And I always like to share it just in case, because it has saved many an email of getting the edit requests on the Google documents. So when you erase that word edit and you type in the word copy, it's going to share a copyable link to your video. Okay. So just a cool way, not only I wanted you to participate in an Edpuzzle Live so that you could get an idea. I mean, and think about it, y'all, you've already probably got that graphic organizer turned into a Google Doc, right? So why not just link it to your Edpuzzle? If it already exists and you've already got it in Google, you can still link it with the Edpuzzle. And that way I can use this live mode as the first activity, as my we do, as my I do and my we do. And I can release my students to do the Google drawing and do the you do, I do, right? So we do it together as a class in Edpuzzle live mode. And then I do a gradual release model and I let y'all do it on your own using the Google drawing. So a great example of a way that you can kind of level up, if you will, LOL, see what I did there, your Edpuzzle for your students. So other ideas, experience a poetry reading, go on a virtual field trip, showcase your students' work, review a video lesson that students completed as homework in live mode, or even observe a science experiment. So a great way that our science teachers use Edpuzzle is that what takes a long time is the lab demonstration. So if you do the lab demonstration via Edpuzzle, that saves your in-class time for doing the actual lab. So you could do your lab demonstration, even use it as live mode that day. Make sure that nothing goes wrong during that demonstration, unless there's a fire drill because it's the 30th. But nothing could go wrong, right? Because it's already recorded. And then you can release your students to do the science experiment. So virtual field trip ideas, there's lots of pre-existing 360-degree videos on YouTube. So all of those you can utilize. Nat Geo has a lot too for science and social studies, if we're being honest. And all you have to do is add your 360 video from the Edpuzzle library or from YouTube, use the toggle on the left to move around, and add notes to prompt your students. So it's a great way like to kind of add in those reflection items for a virtual field trip, because obviously the experience in itself is exciting, but you can add in those ways for students to reflect and kind of look back and analyze what they learned as they were looking at that 360 video. Idea, let's say you're teaching English language arts, you're talking about Shakespeare's sonnets, you can travel to the Globe Theater with your students. And then at the very end, you can just have an open-ended question where students put 5 to 10 sentences about their day at the Globe Theater in detail. So it's kind of like a journal prompt, just embedded right there in the Edpuzzle. You're only sharing one link. You're not having to share a separate document or anything. And they just type in their sentences right there for you to look at and see how they learned. Now, some resources. I wanted to make sure that we had some time at the end so that while Antonio, Stephanie, and I are here, we can give you any assistance that you might need. So we do have about 22 minutes left, but we are going to hang out and make sure that you don't need anything from us. And please hang out and create your Edpuzzle. Please hang out and pick my brain. I love helping people use all of these tools and embedding, like you can embed Flipgrids, you can embed Google Drawings, you can embed, you know, even your Pear Deck at the end or whatever type of tool you want to use, you can embed it there in the Edpuzzle. So please stay, hang out with us. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. Here's some helpful resources. There's our Getting Started playlist. We've got lots of online training courses, links to our webinars. You've got the links to these slides as well. If you ever have an issue, please email me, of course, but support@edpuzzle.com is a wonderful resource too, especially as you're kind of transitioning from Google Classroom to Canvas or anything like that, then they're happy to help you out. Tweet at us. We love getting tweets. And then there's the link to the Edpuzzle Originals as well, and the Chrome extension. So if you're interested in creating your own screen recordings, please check out that Chrome extension. It will really help you if you're going to make them into Edpuzzles. Even if you're not, it's still great, but it will absolutely help for that. And then if anyone has any questions, please let me know.